Welcome, I'm Rabbi Phil Bressler of Beit Am in Corvallis, Oregon, and this is the daily summary video for the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch Yomi Daily Halacha Learning Project, covering the passage from Siman 90 Se'if 5 to Siman 90 Se'if 14. You can find links to the Hebrew and English text of this passage and to the calendar of upcoming passages in this video's description. We're still talking about more non-milacha activities that are still prohibited on Shabbat, and we'll also get into milacha that may be done through a non-Jew. Remember, we're going beyond the concept of muktzeh, things that are just not Shabbat appropriate, into other specific acts that are prohibited, even though they're not milacha, even though they're not similar to milacha, even though they're just not Shabbat-like enough. Remember, these are derived from the verses in Isaiah chapter 58, 13 and 14. We learned yesterday that the words there, Mimtso chevtza v'daber davar, nor look to your affairs, nor strike bargains, as it's translated in the New JPS, means A, what you do on Shabbat should be different from the rest of the week, and B, what you say on Shabbat should be different from the rest of the week. The Kitzur comes now to limit the scope of those restrictions. When we say your affairs, we mean only the affairs of humans and not, therefore, the affairs of God, that is, mitzvot. So you can do things on Shabbat that would otherwise be too weekday-like if it's for the purpose of mitzvot. So you can walk to the end of the Shabbat boundary and wait until nightfall to shorten your post-Shabbat journey. Normally you couldn't do that if it's just for an errand, but you can if it's to go do a mitzvah the next day. You can take care of all sorts of communal affairs. Seeing to the affairs of the community is considered a mitzvah. You can announce a lost object. Hashevat avedah, returning a lost object, is a mitzvah. When we say v'daber davar, literally don't speak anything, we only mean speaking and not therefore thinking. So it's good not to, but you can think about your business affairs on Shabbat. That's not prohibited. You can intend to achieve business ends, like hiring a worker, say, as long as you don't actually make a direct payment or a direct proposal to them on Shabbat. More on paying someone to work for you. You can't pay someone specifically for the work that they do for you on Shabbat, but you can pay them for work over a period of time that includes Shabbat and roll the Shabbat work into that payment. Don't go giving gifts to people on Shabbat. Big financial gifts look too much like payment. Don't look at business documents. Even though it's okay to think about your business, if you're doing that while looking at a document, it's too obvious that that's what you're doing. What about things you might read without knowing what they're going to say? A letter, for example, is probably okay to read unless you know that it's definitely going to be about business. Still, don't read it aloud because you don't know what it's going to say. More things to avoid reading include a caption of a portrait or picture. This one's perplexing to me. The footnote says it's to avoid reading prohibited documents, but I really can't fathom why. Don't read books about war, histories, mundane parables and anecdotes, and love stories. Romance fiction apparently might excite your Yetzer Hara. Don't measure anything out unless it's for a mitzvah. That's too weekday-like as well. We've talked about that previously. If you're going to take a big financial loss, though, you can still discuss your business with a Jew or a non-Jew on Shabbat. And despite all the times when the Kitzur says it's possible to have a non-Jew do something for you, don't go having them do outright melacha for you. This is something that needs to be an option, the ability to have sometimes non-Jews do work for you, but it's not a can of worms we want to open too wide. That's all for today. As always, our learning is dedicated to Rabbi Shlomo Gansfried, the author of the Kitzur, and the historic Jewish community of Ushrad, Ukraine. See you tomorrow.